on a bigger kind of a macro level, I think that's why reality shows and other shows like this connect, because we can take that template and lay it onto our lives and relate. But I think that the wince of cringe or the wince of pain from those rejection moments, right, don't really go away. But we have to, I guess I'm getting at getting okay with all the cringes in your life, knowing that you wouldn't be who you are if you didn't have those cringe moments. You have to have the failures. You have to have the successes. It can't all be breezy. There are going to be moments where you made a decision, or there are going to be people in your life that didn't get you. They didn't see you, right? And you begged for them to see you.
Yeah.
And that's just life. Welcome back to Bonfire Talks with me. Glad to have you. Hope you guys are enjoying summer. I'm here with my producer and friend Caelan Bean. Hi, Caelan.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
You know, I'm good. Although I may be sick.
Sick of with
even better.
Of with
even better. Sick of. I could go there for an hour and a half. But you know, I went to San Diego for 4th of July, last minute thing. I don't know if I've mentioned that I'm kind of impulsive. Maybe we just talk about everything I've done that's highly impulsive and unthought out that I've done in the past 3 weeks. Just ridiculous, like manic behavior.
I was going to say, isn't it the other way around? Aren't you always super concerned with the plan and how something's going to go? Or am I getting you confused with Robbie on that?
No, I mean, maybe that's part of me, but I am known for getting an idea and going, okay, let's do this, and it mission creep. I'll say I'm going to pressure wash the backyard, and it'll end up being a $5,000 redo, and that's what I did.
Oh yeah,
I did. I did all of that.
Yeah.
But the impulse here was that 4th of July was coming, and both Robbie and I said, you know what, we normally do like a big thing. We just weren't feeling it, and I said, let's just chill, and we'll hang out at home. And then we'll go to the Starlight Bowl up in Burbank and watch the fireworks, and that'll be 4th of July, and we'll be down. And then my daughter, who's in Boston, you know, Hot Stuff, Goldie?
Yep.
From episode whatever. Her boyfriend, Tucker, was working because it's a big weekend for him. So she was like, I don't have anything to do for 4th of July. And we have for years gone to San Diego with this other family who are like cousins to us, like... Robbie and I, when we were engaged, we went to work on a cruise ship for 6 months. When we were on the cruise ship, we became really good friends with the DJ, because you're on a ship and everybody works on the ship. You become really good friends. And this woman and her aunts and her mom come on the ship, meet the DJ. They fall in love. He leaves the ship the next cruise because his contract is up. They got married and had kids. He then, they get divorced. He becomes gay, or... I don't know if he becomes gay.
Yeah.
It's not like someone tapped him on the shoulder.
Right. I'm not sure it works that way.
I guess not. But the marriage broke up, but we kept her. And we kept him too. I mean, I'm still friends with him. But she and her 2 kids, her kids were the same age as my kids, and they've been raised like cousins. The point is, we've gone and kind of cherry-picked off of their family's big event in 4th of July every year at the Hotel Del down in San Diego. Mm-hmm. Hotel Del Coronado is, like, amazing. So that has been every year, but this year we're like, I just don't see it. I don't know if it's going down. So at the last minute, literally like on the 2nd of July, Goldie's like, do you have any miles? Maybe I'll just go to San Diego and hang out with, the fam. And I had miles, so I bought her a ticket for miles and $11, and I got her to San Diego. And then she's like, and then Robbie's like, she's only 2.5 hours away. It's kind of weird having our kids so close and not going. I said, I know, but we kind of said we weren't going to do this. And then, as I often do, I'm like, fuck it, let's go. So we boarded the dogs. By the way, the dogs that I love, my 2 dogs that I'm going to bring in here one day and have them as guests because they're the best guests I ever have. I love them, but the expense of dogs, the trouble of dogs, the way it changes your life, like having kids, the way it changes your life, is impactful. Like, you can't just get up and go and do shit.
Yeah, I had a dog for a few years.
Yeah. Would you like one now?
I would like one now, but
because I'll give you one of mine. You could just have one.
Yeah, I don't. Again, like you're saying, I don't have room in my schedule or my wallet for taking care of one.
The wallet.
Yeah.
Fuck the wallet, man. That's what we got to break through to where the wallet becomes not a concern. But that's another episode, or maybe that's I don't know. We got to talk to you about that too. But anyway, so we just said, screw it. We're going to go. She's too close. Let's make this work. So we put the dogs in. We drove down. We decided to go on the 5th and the 4th turned out great. We hung out in my backyard. Mark DiCarlo came over with a couple friends. We barbecued a little bit. We went to the Starlight Bowl. That was great. So we drove down to San Diego, got there like at 9:30 in the morning, hung out at the beach all day, went to dinner, spent the night because I got a hotel room, and came back the next day. So it was great. It was really great. Impulsive, but great.
Great.
The reason I don't feel well is I was the only one who went in the ocean.
Ah.
And I went in, and by the way, if you've never been to Coronado Island, it's gorgeous. It's just beautiful and always gorgeous. But I went in the water, and it's just full of seaweed all over the beach, and you'd have to wade 100 yards out before you got past the seaweed. And I also noticed there was like garbage in the water that never is there. But I went in 2 or 3 times, a little bit. And now I feel like shit and have been shitting ever since. So I got home. The point I'm getting to is I got home. I'm like, oh, that was fun. And then I see a report on the news that there's bacteria from Malibu down to, and they point to this beach at Coronado as all contaminated with some sort of bacteria.
Well, I heard it was sewage from like Mexico and
That's
South America
that's
traveling up to the Southern California beaches, especially the ones down there in San Diego.
And if that's the case, you can see Mexico from Coronado Island.
Yeah.
And when I tell you that, I'm like, why is there a diaper in here? And I was in that water.
Yeah.
So I feel awesome. And this may be the last episode we do.
I think you'll be all right.
I've lost 3 pounds.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, it was fun to kind of reconnect with these people. What's so funny is like you don't make the effort sometimes, and you get busy, and you're like, I'm not going to do it. And then you're like, the drive and everything. And then when you get there and you're on the beach and you're sitting there and you're connecting with people that you've known for all these years, that's the value, Yeah. You got to make the effort to make the connection, because if you don't do it.
That's the tough part.
Yeah, it's making the effort.
Hanging out's the easy part. It's the reaching out that's the tough part.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like given the choice of reaching out and taking the effort, making the effort, spending the money, and going to connect with people. Some people are great at this. DiCarlo, Mark DiCarlo, is, if you invite him to something, he's so down that he'll invite 10 people to something. Like his way of, and my brother-in-law Gary, Pocket Dial Gary, waiting for his call. He's like that too. If you say, hey, there's this party I'm going to, do you want to go? He's like, yeah, I'm going to call these guys and see if they want to go too. I'm not that guy. I'm an isolator. I love being around people. I love doing that, but I kind of isolate. I'm not really that guy. But, and by the way, to that end, DiCarlo, this was DiCarlo this weekend. So I called him and said, hey, what are you doing for the 4th? We're not really doing anything, but my pool's in shape and we can kind of hang out if you want. He's like, we're going down to Hermosa Beach, and do you want to come? And I'm like, no. And then around, about 11:30 or 12, he calls me back and says, we decided we're not going to do that. We're thinking would it be cool if Yenny and I came and just jumped in your pool and then we all go to the Starlight Bowl together? I'm like, sure, that's fine. But I don't have a whole setup. Like, I'm not ready to barbecue and do this whole thing. And he's like, no worries. He said, so, Yenny and I are going to come, and Sarah and Marco and Jason, if that's cool, from across the... I'm like, okay. And just so we're clear, it was awesome. And Sarah and Marco were great, and it wasn't a big party, and they brought food, and we barbecued, and it turned out to be actually the 4th of July I wanted to have. But there are 2 kinds of people. There's the guy who says, yeah, I'll do it, and I'll bring everybody. And there's me who's like, yeah, I may not go, Yeah. So anyway... I'm sitting there on the beach. We're just bullshitting and having a great time. And then Goldie and I started talking about Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
That show that's on Netflix.
That show that I binge watched.
Yeah.
By the way, for some reason, I have watched a lot of Netflix lately. Isn't that
I wonder why.
I just have
Well,
found
I think they're the most popular streaming service.
Yes,
so
they
that
are.
That would make sense.
And I find that
they're overall fantastic. They make great reality TV shows.
I think they do make great, especially in the dating space. I think they do great stuff.
Yeah.
But I've become a big fan of their content.
Yeah.
But anyway, I started watching the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders, and then Goldie and I had this like epiphany because Goldie comes from ballet, and she shared a little bit about her brand, Lazy Ballerina Club, which is about, surviving a career or a life that inherently is toxic.
Mental health.
Wellness within a toxic
competitive, ultra competitive space.
And so I'm watching Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. You're not really concerned if I spoil it?
No, you go ahead.
You're okay. I don't see you being a Dallas Cowboy.
I'm more of a sci-fi guy.
Yeah,
I
really don't see you
than a real. Yeah.
Yeah, and not like me who's learned the choreography.
Yeah.
But there was so at the end of there's this one character, Victoria, and this goes back to what I was saying, that I wish there was some portal that people who are on other shows, as they have an emotional moment, end up at a bonfire, like a Temptation Island bonfire with me.
Yeah.
Victoria, this is for you, Victoria. I'm feeling you all over the place. She had been on the squad she was on the squad, and then she took a year off, and then she came back on the squad, and her mother was like a legacy. She was in the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders. And then this whole season, she's trying to win the love of these two directors, coaches. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, she's great. She's doing all the stuff, but she's obviously not their person. And at the end, when it's like time, they do all these traditions, like instead of just talking like real people, they do stuff like at the end of the season, you come in and there's 2 racks, and you take your hanger and you hang it on this rack if you're coming back next season, and this rack if you're not.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Why don't they just ask you?
Right.
Why does it have to be a formal thing? But anyway, so she basically comes in and says, look, and throughout the season, there was like team leader, like squad leader.
Yeah.
That she wanted to be, and they didn't make her a squad leader or the B leader. And she was chapped about it, you know? And so she comes in and she sits with them, and she's like, I'm not sure where I want to hang my clothes yet. And she has this conversation with the directors about, do you see me in this role and growing into this role where I can be in a leadership position, which, by the way, I think she was. She did. I'm going to say, as nutty as she is and as weird as she seemed to be sometimes with her mom, it was like that relationship was really kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. I think she walks the walk, but they were very clear as they sat there talking to her, saying, look, if you are wanting us to say that's in your future, that you're going to be a leader if you come back next season, I can't guarantee any of that. So basically, you watch her trying to get them to say to her what she wants to hear, which is, you're valuable. We love you. You're valuable. And they just don't say it. Mm-hmm. And she then says, I don't want it like this. And she says, so I'm not coming back. And it touched Goldie in such a deep way. And then I started looking at it, and I can't believe I'm going to tell you that there are parallels in my life to the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders experience, but the similarities are amazing. So first of all, to Victoria, I'll say, to me, it was this moment of watching someone make a choice, knowing it's the right choice, even though it meant walking away from something that, even with the toxicity of it, means so much. Like, her whole identity is wrapped up into being a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. Her mother was a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, this whole thing. And what's funny is that's all there is, because they're not getting paid. It's all about identity and the uniform and the experience and the family and all of that. There's no money. There's no ancillary benefit to it. And for her to have to make the choice to say, look, I don't want it like that. I don't want it where I'm constantly begging you for approval and you're never going to give it to me, was both bittersweet. It was sad to see her not get what she wanted, but it was really this empowering moment. I was like, Victoria, good for you. You're walking away from it because it's not right, you know? And I guess I read somewhere that now she's going to be a rockette. So, which I'm sure is entirely toxic too. And it's the same fucking thing. And she's going to be, you know, doing that. But the point I think that really touched me is that how many times in my life have I tried to drink water from a well that's dry and keep waiting for them to like give me what I'm begging for? And it's like, even on my show where somebody comes on and they say, you know, I told him if he doesn't ask me to marry me by X day, I'm
Gary.
No, it's Mark DeCarlo this time. I'm not answering because he's that's another story. Even what was I saying? Damn it, Mark.
Water from a well that's dry.
Yeah, well, that's dry because it's like when people do an ultimatum. If you don't ask me to marry me by this date, then we're going to break up. Mm-hmm. Then I always say to them, well, play that out for a second. If they do, is that going to feel good? No, it's an empty engagement. It's an empty proposal because you demanded it. You know, and it's the same thing as like if you walk into that meeting, Victoria, and you say, can you tell me I'm going to be a leader next year? If you don't tell me I'm going to be a leader on the squad next year, I'm not coming back. And then they go, okay, so we're going to make you a leader. Is not the same as them saying, we really think that you're a leader and we want you to be a leader. So I have found myself many times trying to drink water from a dry well. Want to know when?
Recently?
No, not recently. I'm sure I could find recently, but you know, the whole way I got into show business, like the whole reason I'm sitting here today, everything comes out of a moment I talked about a little bit here. I talked with Jeff Hiller when we were here. Mm-hmm. I was in this group called the Young Americans, which I don't talk about a lot because it sounds so cheesy, and I live in your opinion of me. Like that's what drives me, is that I need you to love me. You, Caelan, of course, I talk about all the time. But so this group was I'll try to be brief, but so it was a musical theater singing and dancing group, and it was not even like I planned to do anything. I was in college. I was kind of doing the fraternity thing and everything but the school thing. Like I was barely passing, and I was loving life, but I wasn't really very focused. And then this group came through, and my mother came to see the show, and I auditioned for a summer program, and I got accepted. And so I'm like, let's go. What I realize now as an adult is that, and I talked about this when I talked about going back to Alabama, when Goldie and I were talking about the trip back to Alabama. Yes. I think I realize now that a lot of what was going on in my life, I was kind of willing to go anywhere but there. Mm-hmm. Like any opportunity to leave, I was going to take. So it was Michigan for the summer to do musical theater. And it was everything you think it was. It was like Glee and theater camp and all that. And it was 100 kids singing and dancing and falling in love with each other and, you know, no worries in the world. But the directors of the group had some similarities to what I witnessed on this Dallas Cowboy cheerleader thing, that we as students are doing everything we can to get their approval. And that's all the conversation was. Oh, Bill loves you. Oh, Bill doesn't like you. Oh, Milton thinks you're this, or Milton thinks you're that. And we would live in that. Like, that was the whole thing. Now, you know, I was 18 years old, so it was a different vibe. So I do the summer, and I'm a leader. They fucking love me. And I'm not as good a singer or a dancer as anybody in the group, but I was now in charge of our cast. And that was a whole thing. And, of course, I thought that was great. And we went on tour for a little bit. And then we came off the tour at the end of the summer, and then I had a choice. Do I go back to college, or I was invited to come and be part of the group in California. So I moved to California. And that was the next few years of my life. So at one point, and there's like 120 people in this group, but anytime there was a show or a tour or a one-night show or whatever, you'd all audition again, and they'd pick the 30 people that were going to be in that show, and it was often the same 30 people. And I'd get in some, and I wouldn't get in others, and this, that, and the other. But at the time, national tours didn't happen a lot. So one was coming up. And it was like every 3 years they had one, so you could miss one entirely. But there was a national tour coming up that everybody wanted to go on. And we go through the audition process, and that's awesome. And, it's narrowing down. And they would do these just mind-fuck things where they'd stand you up and have you stand next to somebody else and have you sing and then have you sit down and have you just churning of mindfuck, right? And then I get called up to the directors. And they say, Mark, we love you. You're great. And we want to take you on this tour. And I'm like, great. Here's what we propose. We'll put you in the first act. Then you'll sleep in the second act. And then you'll drive the truck with the equipment. That's how you're going to get to go on tour.
Okay.
So that feels like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders thing to me. It's like I wanted to go on tour with everyone else, like a cast member, and be on the bus and having all the moments, like on the bus with everybody. And instead,
you're getting like a third of the experience rather than the full.
What I heard was, you're not good enough to go on tour, but if you're willing to lift shit and drive the truck, you can go.
Yes.
And I did what Victoria did. I said, I don't want it like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to just go back and finish this audition. If you think I'm good enough to go, take me on tour. And if I'm not good enough, don't. And I didn't go. So maybe I probably should have just gone on tour. But and I was talking about this with Robbie, is that the rest of my life gets informed by that specific moment. Okay, because the cast that went on tour ends up being the cast that goes to France that summer. And I didn't get chosen for France either. I got chosen for Boyne, which is this Boyne Highlands in northern Michigan. It's a ski resort that has a dinner theater there. But what's interesting about it is, as bad as it hurt to this day, like I'm a TV guy. Depending on who you ask, I'm a celebrity. I've done pretty well, right? But I still think about that moment all the time as a defining moment.
Right.
And I know that if I had gone on the tour and then maybe gone to France or whatever, that route, I wouldn't have gone to the dinner theater in Michigan, where I learned almost everything I know as a TV host. Because it's like close hand magic. You're up at the tables, you're serving dinner and doing a show. And so you're having this intimate conversation with your audience and creating a connection. And
isn't that where you met Robbie too?
I met Robbie sort of. No. The first dinner theater was...
different dinner theater.
It was the same thing.
Yeah.
But in the summer, it was... See, in the Young Americans, you were in the group at the time from 15 years old to 21 years old. After that, you're out of the group. And that's actually an interesting thing, because I did Boyne while all the cool kids were in France.
Yeah.
Then I did Boyne again while all the cool kids were in France again, right? While I was at Boyne, feeling like Boyne was cool. Like, getting Boyne was a big deal, but France is cooler. So I felt like this was, I got this instead. But I really learned how to do what I do best. And I became one of the, later, those directors I talked about would use me as an example of how to work this room. Right? And then when I turned 21 and I was time to get out of the group, a spot opened up at Tibby's Music Hall, which was the dinner theater here, that you had to be an alumni of the group because you're going to make money.
Right.
Money. You're going to wait tables and get tips. But if it was a very coveted spot, and I got that one, which brings me to my other point. Why don't we celebrate our wins why don't I celebrate my wins as much as I dwell on my losses?
Well, that's everybody.
I guess.
Yeah.
But because my wins far outnumber my losses, but my losses cringe me every night, like all the time. So I know that everything was exactly right. Boyne informed those people so that I got Tibby's. Tibby's was where I worked. I met my wife. I met my best friends. I'm still friends with them now. The whole camping crew comes out of that. Remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
And I honed skills there that I use all the time. When I do corporates, when I'm hosting TV shows, almost everything I do, I've learned in those rooms, right? Because it was hours, show after show, thousands of shows. Like, I was there for 3 years, right? That said, trying to get the approval of people who just weren't going to give it to you still, breaks my heart sometimes.
When, to that point specifically about just trying to get the approval of somebody, I'm a big movie lover. I love movies. And the whole time I'm listening to you, I'm just going, this is Whiplash.
Whiplash.
Yeah,
Okay.
Whiplash.
Love that movie.
I love that, and it's I guess kind of spoiler alert, but I feel like it's old enough. He's working, bleeding the entire,
literally
bleeding the entire movie just to get that approval from his. He just wants to hear good job. He just wants to get a good job
from a guy who can't say it because of his own shit.
Right, exactly.
And that's the thing we forget about is that the person we're wanting, that well we're trying to drink from, has their own dry well they've tried to drink from. And when we get into these toxic situations, and show business is fraught full of them, the people in charge have that baggage. But Whiplash is a really great parallel.
I'll just go back and watch that final scene when he's in the concert hall.
After the accident?
Well, no. It's when
when
JK,
he comes back.
Tries to trick him. And he goes, he switches the music on him.
Right.
And he fails immensely in front of all the best people in the world.
Ruins his career.
Goes out, hugs his dad. He's done. He's over. He's finished. And he comes back, says, "Fuck you. I'm gonna just do it my way."
Yeah.
And it's and then over the course of that song, you can see J.K. Simmons going from fucking hating that guy to like, okay, I respect you now. Okay, this is great.
And in that movie, he gets the payoff of having the well he wants to drink from actually give him water.
Yeah.
At the end, he earns that.
And the funny thing is, when he says it, the camera doesn't show JK's mouth. You just see his mouth moving, and it was just an interesting choice, directing choice there.
I think so too. And yet, in life, I don't know that we ever have that completion moment.
Right. That I don't think that
that's
quite as common.
And I think that's what I would say to Victoria is that I don't know if back to you, Victoria, because I feel so intimately connected to her because.
You relate to her.
I really think that on a bigger kind of a macro level, I think that's why reality shows and other shows like this connect, because we can take that template and lay it onto our lives and relate. But I think that the wince of cringe or the wince of pain from those rejection moments, right, don't really go away. But we have to. I guess I'm getting at getting okay with all the cringes in your life, knowing that you wouldn't be who you are if you didn't have those cringe moments. You have to have the failures. You have to have the successes. It can't all be breezy. There are going to be moments where you made a decision, or there are going to be people in your life that didn't get you. They didn't see you, right? And you begged for them to see you.
Yeah.
And that's just life. And I don't know that I have trouble with. It was really funny is that so years later, go back to Young Americans. Mm-hmm. Years later, there was a reunion of that Boyne show I talked about, like a 20-year reunion. We all went back, and I went back because it was such a wonderful time in my life. And then there was another guy who and I want to protect his anonymity to some degree, but he was had become an executive producer of a hit sitcom, like multimillionaire. Okay.
Yeah.
Like so successful. And when asked if he was coming back for the reunion, he's like, "No, I'm not going back because Bill will never give me a solo, and I'm not going to go. I'm not going back. Mm-hmm. He's not going to give me a solo." I'm like, "Wow, dude, you're a multimillionaire. You're like Emmy award-winning executive producer, and you're still worried about this dinner theater you did as a child." And yet I've spent half an hour talking about it myself, and I'm no different. And I just think that that's real. I think it's true that it doesn't matter what level it is, and it doesn't matter how you've avenged the loss. It's the moment where you wanted someone to say, "I see you, and I like you, I approve," and you didn't get it. Sometimes drives us to a whole career of work to avenge that. And they never really, and the truth is, you rarely are going to have the people that, it's rarely going to add up that way, where somebody's going to not get you or not approve of you or say no to you, and then you're going to go out somewhere else and be highly successful, and that person's going to call you up and go, "Hey, remember that time I didn't pick you? I was wrong. You were great." It's not going to happen.
Well, again, going back to TV shows, I don't know if you watched The Bear.
Love it.
Have you seen the new season? Because what you're talking about is the finale.
I'm 3 episodes in to the new season. And I haven't watched more because I got so stressed after the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, that happens.
It's stressful.
Yeah.
But I love it.
It's great.
And the acting is amazing.
Yeah.
And the characters are amazing. Now I'm
But
dying. Now I'm going to go home and binge that.
Yeah.
Although I don't think it's on Netflix.
That one's recent enough to where I don't want to spoil it on a podcast right now.
You can't.
But it's what you're talking
You can't
about.
for me, because I want to see it.
Yeah, what you're talking about is there's a lot of similarities there, just to tease.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's wanting a validation from a place it's not going to come from. And does he make peace with it? Can you tell me that he makes peace with it? I
can't say yes or no. Right. And I can't say whether he actually did get that approval or not.
Got it. So I think I've been both guys, by the way, as I sit here thinking about this. I think I've been the guy seeking approval. I've also been the guy not giving approval when I know somebody wants it. I can't think of a specific thing, but it's a flex of the ego when you're in that director position. Like when I think back of my directors kind of loving on some people and shutting down other people, and it seems arbitrary. And you could certainly tell back in the day, these kids were really talented, so you get it. And these kids are not so talented, so you get it. But sometimes in baseball, my son was a good baseball player, really good. But his high school coach just didn't see him like that. And there was nothing he could do, including the LA, not the LA Times, but like the Daily News or something. I forgot what paper did a high school roundup, and they were like, this kid is killing it, and he still didn't put him in the lineup. So, and by the way, that's not my loss, and I'm still bitter about it, okay? Which is a whole other conversation about how but this is exactly it. This is the same conversation, is that those moments like I described where you wanted approval and you got shut down, they didn't see you, they didn't love you, right? Play it out to like parenting, and you see these parents at Little League, and they're just like ridiculous because every hit your kid gets is the hit you didn't get. Every time your coach picks your kid for All-Stars, that's the pick you didn't get as a kid, and you're just doing what you can to chase it and to kill the ghost.
Yeah.
And it's fucking toxic. I know because I did that.
Yeah.
I try to think I did it differently, but I didn't. And I even apologized to my son about it. I'm like, I put undue importance on this thing, and you being so sweet did everything you could to do this for me, but it shouldn't have been about me at all. And I thought I had my head straight about it in sports. I thought I was like, the dad who was like not taking it too seriously, but you get butthurt, man. And it all comes down to the thing I say all the time. We just want to know that you see us and you appreciate us and you hear us. And and sometimes we then seek that approval from the people that their approval shouldn't matter because they're fucked up. Like, and we can't in real time look at the people that we're seeking approval from and go, you know what, guys, why do I need your fucking approval? Who are you? But I think I made it clear that I'm willing to give my power away to anyone who wants it at any given time. So anyway, I hope that Victoria, although when I heard that she's going to the Rockettes, and that may or may not be true, I'm like going, that's out of the fire into the pan. That's a whole other fucking, thing of conforming to a certain size and perfection and all that. Although, both Goldie and I were able to connect on the fact that it was such a powerful and bittersweet moment. It's such a powerful moment to walk away from something that you love when you realize it's not on your terms. It's not, because there's things that we love that we like to hold as great, but when you really look at them, they're not fucking great. This isn't great, even though it seems like it's great. And when I put on the uniform and I go out on the field and the crowd's going crazy, that part's great. But then when I come off the field and they make me feel like shit every day, that's not worth this.
Right.
And to have the bravery to walk away is, or at least stand with yourself is what I took away from that. So Victoria, thank you for that lesson. And if our paths ever, the seat is open for you whenever you want. We can chat about it.
She might be a bit busy with the Rockettes right now.
She's a little busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, after the Easter pageant at Radio City, if you want to stop by. We can do that. If I'm still alive, because I think I have toxic Tijuana bacteria flowing through my entire system right now.
Well, I've been learning to surf down there in like Long Beach, and then I hear this report coming out, and I go, I don't know if I really want to do that anymore.
Yeah, and then the shark attacks.
And the shark attacks, yeah.
Yeah. Although 2 days ago when I was really feeling terrible, I would have taken a shark attack over what was happening to me. Anyway, a little rambly, but that's where I'm at today. I didn't realize I would go as deep as I did by watching the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. I could go off on Reese, like Reese, this girl Reese.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. Mm-hmm. The sweetest girl with the greatest attitude ever. Very religious. Very conservative. The hottest dancer you've ever seen in your life. And what that does to my thinking, it's the paradox of it is just too much. I'm not going to go there because I'll incriminate myself, but my wife and I have been talking about her a lot. She's very talented, that Reese.
Did she make it?
Oh, they adore her. Oh. What's not to love? She's terrific. Her attitude's great. And she's got this boyfriend that she's going to marry who, works at an auto parts store, and you just can't get your head around it. And then you feel bad about it because why can't they be in love? Why can't he have this girl as his wife? They seem to be really, really happy. So I hope the best for them. I don't want to go there yet. Let's see how it turns out for Reese. Anyway, so check it out. Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders on Netflix. It's really good. Even if you don't care about cheerleaders or dancing. I thought it was pretty cool. The dynamic, because the directors are the coaches are, they're really rough, but they're also curating something that is an institution.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but what they're doing is working, and people are willing to do it. But let me just say this right now. Dallas Cowboys organization, you're making like a lot of money. You can kick down more than $150 a game to those cheerleaders. Don't you think?
Yeah, that sounds like they're being incredibly underpaid.
Yeah, incredibly underpaid. But they get to wear the uniform. All right, that's it. Thanks for joining me. I'll have some more for you next week. And I'm always grateful when you guys give me a comment or a suggestion, or even when you reject something I've said that I will obsess on until the next episode. Thanks, guys. See you next week.